I am back with another spooky story, and you definitely do not want to watch this one at night. What would you do if you found out that your mother that you know and love, that you lived with all your life, is actually a zombie? We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Miss. So Miss has a friend who was born in Benin? And Mrs. Friend used to stay with her mom over in Benin. So when Mrs. Friend turns 18 years old, her mother tells her that her family is actually from Ghana. And she tells her that she wants to take her to Ghana. So they get on a bus and they go to Kumasi, a city in the Ashanti region. So as they're on the bus, the girl's mother is instructing her about what to do. So the mom is telling her that she's actually not coming with her. She's just taking the bus and taking her there. That once she arrives, a woman is going to come out of a car. She described the woman to her and told her that the woman out of the car is her auntie and that she should go with her. Again, she's not stopping with her daughter. She's just dropping her off, telling her, go with this woman who's your auntie, and I'll catch up with y'all later. Because it's been a while since the mom has been back home, she gave her daughter a picture of herself to give to her aunt when she sees the aunt so that it can all make sense. Because again, the daughter never left Benin, so she doesn't know about her family in Ghana. So her mom's telling her this auntie's gonna come pick her up out of this car. She looks like this. Here's a picture of me. Be sure to give it to her. I'll come join y'all later. And she's like, okay, cool, makes sense. So eventually, daughter gets off the bus and she peeps the woman that her mother was talking about, so she approaches her. She told her everything her mom told her to tell the woman, and this woman starts bawling. She is hysterically crying. The woman / her auntie took the girl and brought her back to the Ashanti region to the family house. So when she got there, the family members called her for a meeting and started interrogating her about her mother, started asking her real serious questions about her mom. And she told them everything. She told them that she has been living with her mom since childhood and she doesn't know her father. So after the interrogation, everyone decided to tell her. They told her that her mother was dead and has been dead for 16 years. It was a funeral, a burial, and everything. She is not alive. But the daughter, the girl, she was 18 years old. So then the girl had to have been born before she passed. So they don't know whether that is her mom or not. I mean, she's showing them pictures of the mom. She's relaying the exact messages that her mom told her to relay, which would be things that only the dead woman would know. So they came to the conclusion, because of everything the girl knows and because of the picture, that her mother was a dead woman. Therefore, the family just simply cannot accept her. Her mom died so many years ago, 16 years ago. Somehow winded up in Benin, living this whole new life without ever mentioning important details from her past, like, I don't know, her dying. So Miss, the person who submitted the story, said, in their Ghanaian culture, they assume the dead cannot eat pepper. So the family members is asking her, like, have you ever seen your mother eat peppers? She's like, I've seen her eat vegetables that taste like peppers, but no, she never ate peppers. And that was the end of the story that Miss submitted. Since that's all she submitted, she didn't tell me whether daughter went back to her mother or not, or what happened after that. I don't know. I'm gonna assume since the family didn't accept her that she had to at least come back home. I don't know what happened from there. Thank you for submitting, and thank you for listening. I should put that on a t-shirt. I love you, my abducted human. If you haven't already, make sure you're following me on TikTok. I'm so close to 5,000 followers on Instagram. Make it happen for me for spooky season. I don't know. Just so that I know that it's real. I love you, my abducted humans. I believe we're going to South Africa next time. So submit your stories. Really? From your favorite Haitian homegirl. I'm back with another spooky story. So what happened to the girl with the zombie mother? If you don't know what I'm talking about, click on this comment. This is the update. So after the girl met her auntie and they took her back to the family's house in the village, and the family was interrogating her, asking her all types of questions about her mother. The daughter is 18 years old and the family members are telling her that her mother died 16 years ago. So with gathering information, they figure that they're talking about the same person. But it's kind of hard for the family to accept this girl because literally your mother literally did die. And to prove it, some of the family members actually took her to where part of her mother's body was buried. Her mom was buried in Benin and part of her was brought to Ghana to bury. And they did it that way because that's just a part of their culture. So basically the family took her to where her mother was buried and showed her everything like, yeah, she's a dead woman, she's gone. They all come back home and everybody's just confused. So a different day, the daughter decided that she wanted to go back to her mother's burial grounds because the last time all her family was with her, hovering over her, so she wanted this experience by herself this time. So she went there alone and she's sitting there by the grave crying. She is hysterical. She's crying, like confused, asking herself questions like, why me? Did I really live with a zombie for 18 years? So she gets up and leaves the burial site. And on her way back to the family house, Guess who she ran into? So on her way back to the family house, she sees this person approaching her on the road. And when she looks closer, she could see that it's her deceased mother walking towards her. And at that moment, they met. And her deceased mother warned her about something scarier than her actually seeing a dead woman. Her mother told her that no matter what she does, never to go back to Benin. And her mother also confirmed the mystery by saying, in case you're wondering, I did die. So basically, she went back to the family's house, told them that she saw her deceased mother yet again, and basically she was accused of being a witch by the family members. They also were not believing her when she was denying being a witch, so she literally had no choice but to leave the family's house. She can't go back to Benin, and she cannot stay at her family's house. So she wound up going to a town about 1,500 kilometers away from the family house. She's thinking at this point she Gucci. She moved so far away, that family thing is in her past. A whole witch drama, she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But because her story is so unusual, the daughter of a dead woman popped up after 18 years claiming that her mother raised her and sent her here. Everybody in that family basically went around the entire town telling what happened. So the girl's story was actually pretty popular. Even if she was 1,500 kilometers away, odds are somebody heard that story. So she said one of the people who were living in the town where the family was, they came to the town that she settled in, and they started spreading rumors everywhere about that girl, about her mom. They turned that story every way but loose. They were accusing her of being a witch. So she even took the stories to one of those reality shows in Ghana, which is called, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Oyerepa. And according to her, when she went on that show, the people on the show made her to even feel even worse. Because the ones who was interviewing her during the show was like giving her this vibe, like she's a witch or she's a freak or something. Most people think that the daughter of the dead woman is weird. Or they think that she behaves this certain way that's not normal. Yeah, if you guys were wondering, woman is still alive. She is currently married, she has a child, and she is now 29 years old. In case you are wondering how that one ended, because I really wanted to know, and thank you, Miss, for getting back to me on the rest of the story. If this is your first time seeing my face, make sure you follow me on TikTok, For better, longer, spooky stories, make sure you guys head over to YouTube, subscribe, and go follow me on Instagram. We are so close to 5,000 followers, just so that I know that it's real. Duh. I love you, my abducted humans. I'm your favorite Haitian homegirl. Let's get spooky. Did you know that there are spirits that actually take the form of your loved one that may have passed away to come into your dreams to trick you? You might not want to watch this video at night. Do you believe that you're alone right now? And the spirits that I'm referring to are called trickster spirits. So tricksters, they love to take the face of your loved ones or even your gods to confuse you. Common thing is, after someone passes away, the trickster takes that person's face, body, and everything in likeness, goes into the person closest to that person's dreams, and the trickster, looking like that family member, can then lure that person into their doom. If you let them touch you in your sleep, that will be your sad end. Now, as many of you guys may or may not remember, I've told a story about how my mother's spirit was haunting me. The other day, I explained the situation to my auntie. I explained to her the horrible dreams I was having right after my mother's passing. And if you're new here and you haven't seen that story time, long story short, every night after my mother passed away, I would have these very lucid dreams where we would be in this, what I like to call this void. It was like black everywhere with one main source of light. And every night, this person who looks like my mother would come to me and tell me, you're not happy here. I know you're not happy here. I can see that you're not happy here. I've been watching you and I know you're unhappy. It saddens me. Won't you take my hand? Except a lot more emotionally charged and convincing than that. And the one night I was about to take her hand, I reached out for her, but she went further away. So I got up to go after her. But I hadn't realized that in the physical realm, I had actually gotten up out of my bed sleepwalking, and I walked straight into moving traffic while unconscious. My life was saved by a guy who was coming home from work, and that big car missed me by a hair. Now, I officially woke up to a guy holding me and me being outside. For some reason, no, I wasn't confused. I knew what happened. It made sense. While I was sleepwalking, I saw the car. It's like I was in this weird state where I was seeing the physical and the spiritual at the same time. Till somebody literally grabbed me and woke me up. As I explained this story to my aunt, she tells me that not only are you not supposed to talk about these things at night, much like a lot of you guys guessed before, that was not my mother's spirit. That was just some other spirit, apparently, trying to end me. So if you have an unalived relative and you dream of them, maybe don't take their hand. If the dreams keep getting scary, pray, and we're ready to sleep. Thank you guys for listening to this spooky story. I am out of here, but remember, my abducted humans, stay spooky. Do you guys like my spooky smile? Your favorite Haitian homegirl. I am back with another spooky story, and we are still in Ghana. The dead people or ghosts just walking around in Ghana casually is just a little too spooky for me. You might not want to watch this one at night. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Etsy. This story happened when Etsy was just 8 years old. So a backstory, her uncle was a serious womanizer, okay? Like he had several women. So much so that he had girlfriends from different regions of the country. And also different countries, period. Including the US, UK, Germany, etc. He got hoes in different area codes. And while all of this is going on, the man was still married, okay? So the uncle, also known as the womanizer, winds up passing away. But a year before he passed away, his aunt actually also passed away. So before the aunt even passed away, everybody already knew that the aunt and the aunt's daughter had issues with the uncle. It was a very tumultuous relationship between the aunt's daughter, and the uncle. It did not get along. Boom, the aunt winds up passing away a year before the uncle does. This is all important. Keep that in mind. So this beef was happening and everybody lived in the same house. So at the time, a lot of kids who were in the family who were close would come over and spend, their summer break with them in the house. So fast forward one Friday afternoon, the uncle, also known as the womanizer, says he wanted to take a trip to Togo. He said he wanted to go check something really fast, and at the time he had a bike that could take him to Togo and back in under 4 hours. So he left to Togo, and some time goes by and uncle's still not turning up. So now it's actually getting kind of late and there's still no sign of the uncle. He was supposed to be back in like less than 4 hours, so like what happened? Etsy's mom is out here calling him, no answer. His wife is calling him, another aunt is calling him, no answer, y'all. And a little bit later that night, unfortunately, they wind up finding out that the uncle tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident. And apparently, he was tossed back and forth by several cars on the highway. This was one of the most used highways in Ghana, so it was like quite a lot of cars. After he's been rolled around like a hot potato on top of all these cars, some way, somehow, he miraculously got up and stood on his feet. Despite having all of his bones broken, this man got up and stood on his feet. But unfortunately, he didn't survive as he died a little while after he was sent to the hospital. So uncle passed, boom. Now here's the tea. Fast forward to the day of his funeral. The kids start to notice that there's a lot of extremely beautiful ladies literally coming into the house. And all of those pretty ladies were looking for no other than the uncle. So Etsy's mother and aunt, who really had the issue with the uncle, they would just walk these ladies into the room where the uncle was laid, basically show them a corpse, and these ladies would just be crying. They were so hysterical. Upon seeing his body, these women were fainting, crying, hysterical. So much so that Etsy's mom and auntie had to prepare taxis for any other women that might just come around and be too hysterical to take themselves home. So boom, it's his funeral and all these beautiful women are literally coming in randomly and just asking to see him. And when they came in, they weren't necessarily dressed for a funeral either. They came to see that man. And to their surprise, the man is dead. Here's the creepy part. So even after the funeral, the ladies never really stopped coming around. And it would be different ladies every time. Even up until his 1 year death anniversary, women were still coming around asking for him. And each time these women come, they were let down with, he's dead. And without failure, every time they find out that this man is dead, they would have this like reaction and they would just go ballistic. So much so that it started becoming sad and kind of funny to Exy. So the real tea is, come to find out, after the man died, after he died, he went around inviting his girlfriends to come over to have a good time. If you know what I'm trying to put down. So all these women were stopping by either by his funeral or even like a year later because they were literally seeing him and he was inviting them to come over to the crib to come get some. So all these girls is coming over there ultimately to get by a ghost. So Etsy goes on to say, not to mention the night before the funeral when his body was brought home and something very strange happened. While uncle was alive, unless he was angry, he never called any of the kids by their real names. But this night, he whispered each and every single person that were staying in the house's actual name. He did not leave a single stone unturned. He was whistling people's name, and the creepiest thing that ended up happening was, during all this haunting of people hearing their names being whispered in the house and all, there was a car that was parked at the compound. Well, the car drove itself to the police station. Like, the car got tired of being parked in the compound and decided to go for a drive to the police station. No, this is not a dream. This actually happened to somebody. So when people retrieved the car from the police station, they interpreted the action like the corpse was looking for justice. So they sought out to find out, how he unalived. Yes, it was a motorcycle accident, but was there more to it? Well, y'all, come to find out, y'all, the cause of his death. Y'all remember the aunt that died a year before him that just did not like him? Well, before she unalived, she, left something behind. She did something to that uncle before she passed away that resulted in the uncle passing away literally exactly a year after the aunt had. And come to find out, this whole time, the aunt was a witch. There was nothing they could do physically since there was no physical evidence. So I guess that cleared up the mystery. The aunt was responsible for the uncle. Oh, these families just out here unaliving each other. That's wild. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this story. I thought we were gonna leave Ghana by now, but I ended up getting so many submissions from Ghana. And these stories are kind of good, so I'm gonna tell them. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. And I do love y'all. From your favorite Haitian homegirl. Ask and you shall receive. I am back with another spooky story. This is a 2-in-1, and apparently the dead just be walking around in Ghana. People can see them and interact with them. You definitely don't want to watch this one at night. So the first story, we're gonna call the person who submitted the story Trish. She said this is a ghost story from a close friend, but she also witnessed it too, so she can testify. So Trish and her friend, we're gonna call her Hertz. They've known each other for a very long time as they've been going to the same church since birth. This story happened when they were just about 9 years old. One day they had a new member at the children's service. We're gonna name her Nayla. Even as children, they could tell that there was something different about Nayla because she looked weird. Once again, I'm just reading. Trish said Down syndrome, kind of weird looking, peeling skin, and she also acted weird too. Well, Trish's mom ended up telling her that Nayla was a sickle cell patient, but they accepted her because it's church. Plus, upon all her conditions, she was very funny and very lovable as well. So from what Trish can remember, Nayla told Trish's mother that she lived with her auntie at the time because her mother had passed away. Her dad unfortunately abandoned her, so now she is staying with her aunt. But the aunt and the relatives were very abusive towards Nayla. They used to maltreat her, deprive her of food. They would deny her of her basic needs. Even church, Nayla oftentimes had to sneak out to go to church. And one day out of nowhere, Nayla just stops coming to church. But they don't make a really big deal out of it because it was normal due to her background. At the time, they were all kids, right? There was this one boy, particularly Andy, that used to live next door to Nayla. So after months of not seeing Nayla, they wind up telling Andy if he could go check up on her because he lives right next door. Mind you, at that point, it's been 3 months since they seen her. So now Andy was also a rascal. So he didn't enjoy coming to church like that. So even though they told him to, check up on Nayla, he did, but he didn't come back to church for like months after the fact. So he did check up on Nayla, but he didn't go back to church to, give anybody the feedback for like months after the fact. So one day, Trish's mother is there making the register on Sunday, the Sunday that Andy happens to come back to church after months. At this point, it's been months, and even Andy's back at church, so what the fuck happened to Nayla? So now everybody's concerned. But y'all remember Trish's friend, Hertz, right? The same one that she been going to church with since forever. Yeah, Hertz told her that she had met with Nayla within that week, and she was fine. Nayla had even escorted her to go buy some food. They chatted and even shared biscuits that Nayla had bought. So Hertz is telling Trish's mom that she shouldn't worry and that Nayla is just fine. I was just with her. Like, we was chilling, chopping it up, like it's all good. And Andy, the next door neighbor, listening to all of this, he looks very confused. It's been months since he's been in church, so he's assuming that everyone knows. So Andy listening to Hertz like, bro, you good? None of what you're saying right now is even possible because that same Nayla that Hertz had claimed to hang out with that same week had died 3 months ago, and her corpse was about to be buried. Needless to say, Hertz was traumatized for weeks. Okay, story number 2. also from Ghana. So there was this woman who sold spicy fried plantains, also known as kelewele, if I'm pronouncing that right. So she used to sell them at night, which is a popular street food in Ghana. Her kelewele was the most delicious street food in all of Obuasi, a town in the Ashanti region in Ghana. One day, a visitor came to town to visit someone, and they had to buy from this particular kelewele vendor because, again, she had the best. But when the visitor saw the vendor, this visitor knew that woman selling the kelewele, so she called her by her name. Frantically, the woman selling the kelewele just like excuses herself and runs to the bathroom, and she was never seen again after that. Not in the bathroom, not anywhere near town, nowhere. The visitor then told the story of how the woman had died while she was giving birth to her baby from her village. The person who submitted the story says that these things happen a lot amongst them, and they do not have the answers for it. She also says that she hears stories of how people reincarnate in other towns or countries, get married, and had kids after they died. They find a way to bring back whatever kids they have to the family, and then they vanish. Because we're leaving Ghana after this video, here's a bonus one. This girl was walking around with her mother, and her mother spotted this lady. So her mother called the lady's name. The lady turned around and kind of kept walking. If anything, she started speeding up like she's just walking. Her being with her mother, watching her mother trying to get this lady's attention who's walking away, she decides to take off after the lady so she can get the lady's attention to tell her, hey, my mother's trying to talk to you. So she goes after the lady, and the lady is walking really fast. The lady literally gets on the bus, and she sees the lady and follows suit. She gets on the bus. Once she gets inside of the bus, the lady she was just chasing disappeared. She just vanished into thin air. And at that point, mind you, her mother was following her too. So her mother gets onto the bus, and of course, no lady here. So her mother actually explains to her that the reason why she was calling out this person's name, the reason why she was calling out her name was because that lady was actually her classmate from like middle school. And that she had died in middle school. So what is this? And well, her mother proceeded on getting sick, and well, she had to go to a witch doctor, well, a herbalist, and she was given certain things to drink and things to bathe in. And after 7 days of drinking the concoction and taking the baths, mother fully recovered. Wow, thank you guys so much, Ghana. You guys have some amazing stories. Definitely spooky, and I know some of y'all didn't listen to me and definitely watch this at night. If this is your first time seeing my face, or you've seen me before, you just haven't followed me, make sure today is the day you follow me. Not only on TikTok, but you also subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my videos, duh. And that you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real, duh. Anyway, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. I am back with another spooky story, and this one is yet another submission from Ghana. Apparently, snake babies are also common in Ghana. Spooky story time. You might not want to watch this one at night. Not that y'all listen to me anyway. So this story is from Ghana in Ashanti region. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Jada. So Jada was living in a rented room at the time, and the landlord had 3 wives. So Jada describes the first and second wives as being very jovial and friendly. The third wife, she was always moody. She always came off angry, like the girl had no friends. And the third wife, the angry one, grr, she gets pregnant with her 3rd baby. But this pregnancy took her more than a year to have that child. The baby took way over 9 months, and when she finally had the baby, it was a girl. So they described the baby to be a very, very beautiful girl with big eyes. And the baby was also pale, damn near white. So a year goes by, and baby's 1 now. And this 1-year-old toddler is still not able to walk, sit. The baby's neck is still not even able to hold the baby's head at 1 year old. So this baby is constantly laying down. Whenever people would come to visit, she would smile at them. And this child was full of smiles, as she would even smile while she's sleeping. And well, this is just weird. So one day the father decided to get some spiritual help. So to help his daughter, he got a herbalist. The herbalist winds up coming to the house, having some concoction and putting it on the baby's head, and still nothing. Herbalist did not work. Fast forward, it's like a whole year. So now the child is 2. The child still has no abilities. So now it gets to Ramadan. Now keep in mind, the father of the child is Muslim. The person says, then we got Ramadan, one of the big imam. Again, don't know if that's a typo. And the father of the child is explaining to this man that the child is 2 years old and still cannot walk, still can't sit up, still can't hold his head up. And the imam was like, what do you mean the child is 2 and still isn't able to sit or walk? So then the imam asked to see this child. So the father went, got his daughter, and brought it back to the man. And when he brought him back the child, the imam looks at the father and asked him, why did you bring me a snake? The imam then told the father that that child is a snake and needs to get rid of it ASAP before it gets rid of the mother. And now the mother of the child is here listening to all of this, and she doesn't believe what the imam is saying, and she believes that he's a fraud, in fact. So the mother is over it, ready to get out of here. Mind you though, that child has never cried from the time she gave birth, and the mother herself has become so skinny and so pale by that point. Well, the baby got to about 2.5 years and they had to attend a wedding in the father's hometown. Well, there was a herbalist that also attended said wedding. And the minute the herbalist saw the child in the wedding, he was startled. He asked the mother holding the child, "Why are you holding such a big snake? What is wrong with you?" And everyone was shocked. The mother starts throwing insults at this herbalist. Like, "You not finna come for my baby. Everybody been coming for my baby since she was born. Like, enough." And this herbalist is crying, telling her, like, "You're lying. You know your baby is a snake. So why are you lying for your child?" The man then told the mother, "If you were wondering how one can possibly get a snake baby, this is the segment for you." The man told her, "You remember when you were pregnant and you visited your mom and there was a woman who came looking for your mother? It was hot outside. You were so angry. You told that woman not to disturb your peace. And when the woman asked you to give her a cup of water because it's hot outside, you told this woman that you were not her servant and that she should get out of the house. Find your way the fuck out. No water, no nothing. ASAP." And the guy is like, "Well, do you remember that?" And the mother was like, "Yeah, I do remember." And the guy told her, "Well, you need to find that woman. And within that woman holds all the answers to all your questions." I hate to do this to y'all, but I gotta do it to y'all at least once a week, man. Y'all gotta come back for part 2. This story's getting too long. But I will tell y'all a little spoiler. She did go visit the lady, but this lady was not your ordinary lady. Y'all, she wasn't even a witch. Just wait till you hear part 2. And if you want part 2, you better comment part 2 down below. Ghana and Nigeria, shout out to y'all because y'all got the spookiest stories out there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time seeing my face or you haven't followed me yet, you better go ahead and follow me on this app. We are on the road to 150K. Oh my god. Make sure you're following me on YouTube for longer spooky stories. And we finally made it to 4,000 Instagram followers thanks to you guys. If you're watching this video, yes you, no, I see you, you're watching me right now on your bed. You have not followed me on Instagram, that's just crazy. And you're showing me that it's not real. So if it is real, swipe out this app and go follow me on Instagram, dog. Anyway, I love you, my Dutch humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. So basically, the herbalist told the woman that the baby she was holding was a snake and that she needed to go find the woman that she had disrespected months ago while she was pregnant. She's gonna have all the answers that she is looking for. So the mother of the child told her mother about what the herbalist just told her, and she asked her mother if she can describe the woman for her, because the woman had come to see her mother previously. So the mother would know this woman. The mother goes on to tell her that that woman was not no ordinary woman, that woman was in fact the river goddess of their hometown. So now the mother of the child decides to go visit the river goddess. But there's a problem because there's no direct route to access the river goddess. So they have to go through a third party. So through searching, they wind up finding this guy. And he is a priest who worships to river goddess. So he knows her, he does dealings with her, he's pretty well connected with the river goddess herself. So they find this man and they go to him. And once they get there, they arrive and this man told them that he's been waiting for them to come. It's been 2.5 years. What took so long? And he goes on to tell the woman that the daughter that she has, come to find out, the child that the lady had is actually one of the daughters of the river goddesses. And she was in fact given to the woman as a form of punishment. So she was given specific instructions to come with this baby. She was told to come back with her husband. She was told to return with her husband on a fortnight. And when she comes back, she should bring back the baby, a white cloth, 7 white eggs, and 7 white collared nuts. Then a white hen. And before they left, the priest gave them a concoction for the woman to drink and bathe. So boom, the day comes, her and her husband goes to go see the priest. Then around 2 a.m., they went to the riverside. When they got there, the priest recited some incantations. He took the hen, the fowl, and circled it around the baby 3 times, then threw it into the river. He then placed a white cloth and eggs in a calabash. He placed the baby on top and hid behind an oak tree. For about an hour, nothing happens. The baby's just laying there. Then the hour mark hits, and then Then the baby starts to transform into a big black snake. The snake then turns, swallows all of the eggs, and swims into the river. And the mother, witnessing her baby girl transform into a snake right before her eyes, she couldn't take it. Like, she can't take it. So she literally fucking faints. So they pick her up and they bring her back to the shrine where the priest gives her yet another concoction. She had to bathe in that concoction, and she was also warned not to go back in that house for 7 days. So she winded up going to her mother's house. Jada, the person who submitted the story, said the people who had to stay in that house for the 7 days, because remember, only the mother didn't have to stay there. Everybody else who lived there was valid, because when the snake comes back, it's only looking for the mother, its host. So the rest of the people who were there, their hauntings began. Jada describes those 7 days to be so scary in the house. Being haunted for 7 days straight is insane. Things like in the middle of the night, you could hear an angry snake hissing or chicks cry. Imagine you're laying in your bed and all of a sudden you just start to hear chicks crying. Dogs just going wild, barking. And not to mention the temperature of the house there was a cool breeze in that house. Like, it was coming from in the house. The house was so cold. And on the final day, the 7th day of their haunting, they could hear a woman laugh. Just like a very sinister laughter. She told me the woman and the husband's names, which I don't have to say at this point. And again, sorry if I butcher this, but they are Dagomba by tribe. Wow. So in case you're wondering, I know somebody's gonna ask that question. The baby is no longer. It was a snake in the form of a baby. Wow, Nigeria and Ghana came and shut this shit the fuck down with them snake babies. Okay, before I leave Ghana, should I tell one more story from Ghana, or where else in Africa would you like me to go next? Make sure you are submitting your stories either on my TikTok or Instagram DMs. Be sure to let me know where you're from and where the story took place. Make sure you follow me on every I can't do this outro again. Follow me, y'all. Follow me, hoes. Period. Run that check, I'm serious. Nevertheless, no stress. I'm your favorite Haitian homegirl. I am back with another spooky story. Apparently in Ghana, the dead sometimes lives amongst the living. Spooky story time. You might not want to watch this one at night. So the person who submitted the story from Ghana, we're gonna call her P. This is something that P's mother witnessed when she was just a teenager. So P says that her mother goes for hawking every day after school due to their financial problems. She uses the word hawking, but I don't know if she means working. She says her mother was a very hardworking and fearless girl. She said her mother was that girl. She went to both places where she was allowed to go and even the places that she was not allowed to be in. So there was this one particular market where her mother would, in her hawking, she would take a rest, and it was by this woman who sells avocados. As I like to call them, avocados. There were rumors that there were ghosts selling amongst them in that market. And they were not just ghosts that come and go in the night. No, they fully lived on during the day and blended with the living. So much so that these dead people living amongst the living, they would go as far as getting married. So no one would even suspect that they were previously dead. So there could be a shortage of avocados, but this woman right there, she had all of them, okay? She had the fresh, juicy, fatty avocados any time of the year. And her avocados were tasty and lustful to the tongue. She never lacks customers. People were always rushing to her avocado stand. So this woman had a husband with 4 kids, and she had been married to this man for 10 years. And this man had never met her family, nothing. So one normal day, P's mother does her regular normal school routine and then goes down to the market. So, you know, the usual, she stops and rests at the woman's place for a minute. P says here in Ghana, Fridays are for funeral wake keepings. So people from afar come to buy stuff for their funerals at the marketplace. So on that particular day, that Friday, P's mother witnessed something absolutely horrifying. What she saw was definitely not in her bingo cards that year. So her mom was helping this woman sell her avocados because she could see in front of her there was this large crowd of people, and this poor woman was getting overwhelmed selling all the avocados by herself. So as P's mother is helping her sell the avocados, these 3 women approached the stand. So these 3 women actually came to the marketplace to buy some stuff for a funeral, but they winded up getting attracted by the crowd of people rushing to this one particular avocado avocado stand. So these three women waited their turn behind the crowd, and when they approached the table, they saw the woman selling the avocado. And boy, I don't think that was in anybody's bingo cards that year. Because the woman selling the avocados was someone they knew from their village. The village that they just came from. And when they mentioned her name, in front of everybody, the three women and the mother and anybody else who was there, the avocado woman literally vanishes into thin air. She left everything behind. Poof, vanished. And mind you, P's mother this whole time was standing right next to this woman. So she's watching everything happen like right in front of her. They winded up looking everywhere around the market, but they could not find this woman. This wasn't just like a smoke show disappearing. Nah, that bitch was gone. She dipped off the scene. So after the search, the women explained that she was a woman who once lived in their village and that she was never married until she died. So yes, that woman selling the avocados this whole time was a dead woman. Now word gets back to the husband, and y'all, he did not take it well. He literally ran mad. 2 of her kids ended up dying of unknown reasons. Now y'all remember she had 4 children, right? 2 of them died of unknown reasons, and 1 of them drowned at a beach. And finally, the last one, who was often prayed for, had mental issues. Who was constantly losing her mind and going mad. Now P's mother, on the other hand, was a helper to this dead woman, and she's been around her for a pretty long time. Her mother ended up having severe measles, who she says if it was not for the interference of God, she would have been dead by now. Her mother was saved by nothing but prayers. And when they dug deep into the history of the dead woman, they found out her motive. And her motive was dark and twisted, to say the least. Because her plan was to destroy and unalive anyone who got close to her, or anyone who loved her for that fact. So we left Nigeria and now we're in Ghana, and Ghana was definitely a lot of fun. Before we leave Ghana, I want to tell one more story from Ghana. So if you have any stories from out there, be sure to submit them to me via either my TikTok DMs or Instagram DMs. I will be telling one more story from Ghana before we head to the next country in Africa. Where would you guys like me to head next? I'm thinking about South Africa next. I haven't seen those girlies in a minute. If you guys really support and love me, make sure you leave a comment, share my video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. I still haven't made it to 4,000 followers yet on Instagram. Is it not real? I love you, my abducted humans. Thank you guys so much for watching this video from your favorite Haitian homegirl. I'm back with another spooky story. We've officially left Nigeria and now we are in Zambia. In Zambia, there's a local folklore called, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, bear with me, Utumbuma or Tokoshi. And they might not be as much as a myth as people think. Spooky story time. You do not want to watch this one at night. We're gonna call the person that submitted the story Cyrus. So when Cyrus qualified for grade 8, she was transferred to a boarding school. The boarding school was in a remote part of Mukonshi district, Zambia. The school was deep in the rural countryside, completely surrounded by dense forest. There was no fence, just trees stretching out in every direction you looked. The school itself was blended into the wilderness. So Cyrus says that their dorms were simple blocks. Each one was separated by grade level. So the grade 8th dorm where Cyrus stayed, it was near the edge of the school. Now keep in mind, the doors in the dorms were flawed. Like some of them you couldn't even lock, and for most of them, like they couldn't even close by themselves. Like you had to like lean up against the door in order for the door to stay closed. And even worse, the toilets were about 100 meters away from where they were staying in. And the path to that toilet was so dark, it was like pitch black. And the school grounds had no lights after lights out, so the place would just turn completely black. One night, Cyrus wakes up in the middle of the night needing to go to the bathroom. And remember how the bathroom is 100 meters away from where they were staying, right? So now her bed was located all the way at the end of the dorm, right? So that would mean that she would have to walk past several other beds to get outside. So as soon as Cyrus gets to the door and she opens it, there's this strange feeling that just washes over her. She said a sense of dread she couldn't explain. Then suddenly she starts to hear faint drumming in the distance. And this is like echoing from deep within the forest. And the sounds of the drums are getting louder, as if it's like coming closer to her, and something is telling her like, yo, do not go any further into this forest. So Cyrus decided that she was just gonna use the bathroom right outside the doorway. She wasn't gonna troop it all the way to the toilets. Now keep in mind, she's peeing and she's like horrified. So soon as she get done, pull up her pants and she just zoomed back inside the dorms. But the thing is, because she's like in such a hurry, when she gets back inside, she didn't fully close the doors all the way in. And now keep in mind, remember I was telling y'all that the doors sometimes had problems closing. So at this point, Cyrus just jumps back in bed and she's just looking at that door. So she's laying down under the blanket, just looking at the crack that she left in the door. This is also why I don't like cracked doors. Anyway, so suddenly the drums just stop. And Cyrus says that the silence that followed was thick and unnerving. As she laid there watching the door, trying to convince herself that it was nothing. But it wouldn't be a story time if it was nothing, right? Because as Cyrus is staring at that door, she said that she saw them. She described two short, shadowy figures. They slipped through the cracks in the doorway. Cyrus says they were not human. He said they were no more than 70 centimeters tall. They had bent legs with swollen bellies. Their skin was pitch black and they were topless. One of them held a small knife with feathers hanging from it, and the other one carried a calabash. Cyrus says that she recognized them instantly. Though she had never seen them before, in local folklore, they are called the Utumbama or Tokoshi, the creatures of the dark used in witchcraft. She watched them move quickly, gliding past the other beds, one behind the other, and Cyrus just watched in horror, praying that they would not notice her. And as she's laying there, sure enough, they approach her bed, and the first creature, the one with the knife, made eye contact with her. At this point, Cyrus was frozen. She said that she wanted to scream, but she could not. Literally nothing would come out. Her body refused to move. She was literally stuck. The creature lifted its hand with the knife shining against the moonlight, about to strike her. And Cyrus says with all her might, she tried to scream, "Blood of Jesus." But the words were stuck in her throat. Finally, as the creature is raising the knife even higher, she managed to force the words out. "Blood of Jesus," she shouted it. And in an instant, both the creatures just vanished. They were gone as if they've never even been there. The room fell back into an eerie silence, and at this point, Cyrus was way too terrified to even try to go back to sleep. So she proceeded on pulling an all-nighter and prayed all night. And the following morning, remember the spot that she peed by the door? She said that she found small footprints around the area that she was peeing, and mind you, these footprints would have been way too small for human feet. Cyrus was way too terrified, she didn't even tell anybody. But come to find out, some of the other students were actually experiencing the exact same thing in that school. Needless to say, Cyrus did not go back to that school the following semester. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time seeing my face, you better go ahead and follow me on this app. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'm literally so close to 4,000 followers on Instagram. Please just go follow me on Instagram! I be getting tens and thousands of views on these videos. I can't get 1,000 of y'all to go follow me? So it's not real? After everything I've done for y'all? It's okay, it's fine. I fuck with who fuck with me. I love you, my abducted humans, especially the ones who follow me on Instagram. I will see you guys in the next video from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Guys, we're still in Nigeria. Legend has it that during market days, spirits would come out and cosplay as humans and sell produce to people. Spooky story time. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Jojo. So Jojo never believed in what legend had to say. She will always go get her produce during market days, and plus she knew exactly who to go for to get her stuff from. So really not any of her concern. So during a market day, Jojo and her grandfather set out to go buy some gari, also known as cassava flow, to make soup. So they go to the market, and the person that they were gonna buy the gari from, the cassava flow from, was this older lady from their village. This lady is about 60 years old, and she's very reputable in selling stuff, and she's been doing this for a while. She's been distributing, selling to the entire neighborhood for a while. And also, Jojo wanted to go to that specific lady because she was from her particular village. So whenever Jojo bought stuff from her, she would always give her, a little bit extra. Favoritism, they're from the same village, so she would look out for Jojo. So during market day, she's out with her grandfather. She sees the lady and she goes over and buys her cassava flow. So now her and her grandfather head home, and now it's time for them to make the soup. So they make the soup, and after it got done cooking, it just did not taste like gari. It just did not taste like cassava flow. And everybody's just looking at it like it looks like cassava flow, but it does not taste like it. It tastes like clay, like dirt, like mud. Like it doesn't taste good, and the flavor's not there. The texture, everything about it is off. And Jojo being like, dang, is she the only one? Like, is she tripping right now? Actually, her mom, like, yo, like, this tastes alright to you? And the mom and the dad is both like, nah, this is not valid. Like, they wind up backing away from the food, like, okay, I guess something's wrong with it. And Jojo winds up calling her grandfather. Her grandfather comes to the crib, and they're explaining the situation with the gari, and the grandfather says, well, keep in mind, the grandfather is no stranger to like spirituality and things like that. So to the grandfather listening to the story, to him instantly this sounded like witchcraft or voodoo. So yes, keep in mind, they did know the lady that they bought the gari from. Remember, this is the lady from the village, like they know her, she's reputable. So the grandfather hearing all of this is like, well, somebody had to do something. They're trying to think like, who could be out to get this family? Like, who would do something like that? Instead of accusing the lady and pressing her, maybe it could have been, you know, something else. So the grandfather takes the cassava flow and goes back down to the village to see if anybody did witchcraft on the food. So again, not blaming the old lady, this could have been anybody's work. But when he gets down to the village, he talks to a juju man, told the man that his family bought the cassava flow like yesterday from this lady at the market, and basically it's bad, and he knows like there's something off about this. So the man is asking him, well, who did you buy it from? And he says the 60-year-old woman from the village. This juju man told the grandfather that that lady is dead. So the grandfather's like, did she die yesterday after we bought the cassava flow? Juju man is like, nah, she been dead since before y'all even set out to go to the market. And yes, people saw her during market day frying and selling produce to people. So they figured that, okay, well, they bought produce from a dead person. So the juju man winds up pulling up and basically giving them some special water, basically some stuff to cleanse them and their insides and everything. And Jojo said, yeah, that was pretty much very chaotic. And after that day, vouches never to go shopping during market days ever again. She says she doesn't fuck with market days so much that even if she didn't go, but somebody else went and cooked something from the market, she's not eating it. She's not, like, she says there's too many stories like that. Thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed this story, make sure you follow me on TikTok and also make sure you follow me on YouTube. I am so close to 4,000 followers on Instagram. Y'all, please go follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Please. You will find my Instagram on my link tree. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. I'm back with another spooky story. We're finally getting to Nigeria this time. Did y'all know that people can give birth to snakes in Nigeria? Spooky story time, and you might not want to watch this one at night. So the person who submitted the story, we're gonna call her Twin. So Twin says that her aunt, who is her dad's younger brother's wife, gave birth to a snake in human form. So it goes like this. Her aunt, who was pregnant with her 4th child at the time, she always works home at night. In the village where she comes from, there's a lot of trees and stuff. So her mom would always tell her, stop walking around at night. So finally, the day of delivery comes and her aunt gives birth to this boy. And immediately, Queen's mom saw this boy and knew something was up. His head wasn't shaped very well, and there was something about his skin. The mom's looking at this baby just having chills. And Queen says this is not the first time that someone has given birth to that kind of baby. So this is pretty normal. So after the mom came to the ward and saw the child, she noticed a lot of things. One of the things she noticed was that the child's forehead was like very soft. It's like your finger can like visually pierce into its head. Like imagine this being soft. So after an hour, his forehead hardens up, and now this is when things get creepy. So the aunt ended up getting discharged and she went home. This is when a lot of things started happening. So since this is a common thing, when women would give birth to these monsters, right, they would just discard them. And other people started telling the aunt, people were coming up to her saying, your child is not a child, it's a snake. And the earlier you throw it away, the better it'll be for you. Because if the child stays too long, it will be impossible to discard it. So at the time, the aunt and the uncle, the parents of this child, didn't listen to anybody. They both decided to keep their baby. But suddenly, their eldest child in the home just started getting drastically ill. And when Queen's mom heard of all of this, like, the oldest child is on his deathbed. So when Queen's mom was hearing about all of this, she knew what was going on. Because remember, she was one of the first people to see the baby at the hospital to say that that baby is actually a snake, or that there was something off with the toddler. So when Queen's mom found out about the older brother getting sick, she connected the dots and said, oh hell nah, just come live with me, son. So Queen's mom already figured out that the baby, or the snake, was actually going to unalive the older brother. So the older brother came to live with Queen's mother instead. And after 4 months of being there, he finally recovered. Her mom gave him some anointing oil and prayed for him. Older brother is back to normal. So at this point, it's 4 months since that baby's been born. Even though it's been 4 months, the baby's neck still wasn't strong enough to support itself. This baby's neck was still basically like flailing all around. And they would take the baby to the doctor, and the doctor would say that the baby's fine, like there's no default. But Queen says, sis, if you saw that child, she said its skin was shining like a snake. He had weird hair and his eyes also were just very strange. She said the child was kind of beautiful, but in a creepy way. And funny enough, every time someone tries to warn the aunt that the baby might actually be a snake, the baby would just start crying, the aunt would get distracted, and that would just be that. So Queen's aunt is a very chubby woman and very beautiful. She started drying up like someone was literally draining her blood. Stuff started happening. She's having weird dreams about snakes and stuff. So one day she goes to the market to sell some farm produce. And, she had her child with her. A Fulani man. And she says Fulani is a tribe from Nigeria and they are very powerful herbalists. So this Fulani man approaches her while she's holding the baby. And he said to the aunt, "What are you doing with such a big snake by your side?" And the aunt was like, "What snake?" And he said, "The child you are carrying is a snake. You need to go get rid of it before it gets rid of you." So at this point, this is when the auntie / mother of the child starts really getting scared. And because this story is so flipping long, like I'm still scrolling, I'm gonna have to do a part 2. It's been a while since I've done part 1s and part 2s on my page. I think you guys can wait. Let me know what you guys think about this story. If you guys think that they kept the baby, let me know in the comments. If you guys think they got rid of the baby, let me know in the comments. As a matter of fact, let me know what would you do if you found out that the baby that you carried for 9 months that you just gave birth to happens to be a demon spawn. Would you get rid of it or would you keep it even if it's at your own detriment? Alright, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys follow me on this here app, duh. And follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real, duh. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more longer, better spooky stories. Alright, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Okay, part 2. So after the guy asked her, "Why are you holding a snake?" and this woman is holding her baby and the panic is really starting to kick in. So she then runs home and goes and tells her husband exactly what this guy just told her. And the next day they decided to go see another herbalist who told them the exact same thing. So it turns out that the child was a snake, and not just an ordinary snake, a king among snakes. In the night, he lasses them with some sleeping charm. Once he does that, he then turns into a snake and then he sneaks outside to catch rats and mice. To eat, of course. And also swim inside the well in the middle of the compound. And as the herbalist is explaining this to the mother, she goes, "Oh, well, no wonder whenever she woke up, the child's stomach was always huge." The herbalist instructed them not to take the child home and that they should find a witch doctor that can safely discard of the baby. If not, if she goes back home with the baby, there will be some serious consequences. He warned them that the child will unalive the mother, and on the day of her burial, the father will also pass away, and then the snake itself will vanish. So the mom and dad go on this journey to find a witch doctor, and boom, they find one, but one problem, she does not want to work with them because the child is too old, thus too powerful. So after much pleading, he accepted for a very high price. He asked them to bring all of the child's belongings, a white fowl for the sacrifices. Then he did some incantation and put a necklace around the child's neck, and the necklace was to reduce its power. And then he proceeded on giving the mother something to drink, which was to break all ties between the mother and the child. And in the following morning, they set out to the river. So with all the ritual items, the rules are immediately she gives the child away, then she turns around and walks home and never looks back. No matter what happens, she is never supposed to look back. Because if she does, the child will come back home. So the following morning, she does just that. She gives the witch doctor the baby, turns front, and goes all the way home and never looks back. Meanwhile, the herbalist did some incantation, threw the baby's clothes into the river. Then there was a white hen that was used to distract the snake while he yeets the baby into the river. The child turned into a snake as it was distracted. The witch doctor was very quick because he got out of sight by the time it noticed. The witch doctor also told her do not sleep in the same house because the child will come back to try to unalive her. She winded up sleeping at her mother's house instead that night. And there was a lot of activities going on outside the house that night. Like a lot of heavy winds. And not to mention the following day when they checked the well, it was basically dried up. But it wasn't drying season yet, so that's odd. A few days later, the mom's skin becomes very dry and very itchy. And when she saw a native doctor, he told her that basically while she was breastfeeding, she didn't realize that the child's saliva was poisonous and that the child was also sucking out blood from her, basically making her dry. He gave her some herbal soap And Queen just recalls seeing her auntie cry while she's just like itching her skin. Queen, the person who submitted the story, says, and Queen says that taught her a lesson. If she were to become pregnant, no staying out late, no carrying of random children. Yeah, y'all shouldn't be doing that, because a snake child can possess a child in the womb also. She said that this happened in Benue State, Castina Ala, her hometown. Benue State? Is it French? Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. That's it for part 2. You guys bullied the fuck out of me, but like, it's out now. Alright, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Is it even real if you're not? Like, what? What the f? I love you, my abducted humans. From your favorite Haitian homegirl. So, as some of y'all may know, I be telling my business on this app real bad, right? I'm about to do it again. If you want tea in Nayla's life, there's the video for you. Don't scroll. So as many of y'all may know, when I first moved into this apartment, I had a hard time adjusting to reality. We can call it delusional, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I was so adamant on creating my own reality that I lost track on the actual reality right in front of me. I didn't want to get a regular job. The 9-to-5 life, I know it sounds cliche, but it really made me depressed bad. And I'm someone who had issues, who struggled with mental health before in the past, and anything that brings me back to that stage in my life, I don't want it. Life is worth living. While all of that is true, I lived my life in a way where other people would perceive it as reckless or careless. I.e., the first year I moved into my apartment, it was co-signed, it was under my sister's name. I really wanted to work on this business at the time that I had, and I had a lot of faith that I could succeed in that. And I didn't bother getting a job until it was basically too late. So my sister, whose name was on the lease, would tell me like, yo, Rebecca, like, you need to get a job, because when you're behind on rent, it's gonna fall back on my name, which is all understandable. And at that point, I tried to go back into the job market, and I was coming across a lot of pyramid schemes. Not an actual hourly wage paid job. I wasn't getting those. So in the midst of the job search and all of this, I winded up getting a job that was paying me minimum wage, which was like $15 an hour, which still was not enough to cover my rent. And I winded up falling behind 2 months of rent, long story short. And my sister was very supportive of me at the time in the best way that she could be. Meaning, like, I would call her when I needed like extra money for my phone bill, when I didn't have money to feed myself, extra. Now keep in mind, this was 2 years ago. Long story short, literally right before the lease was up, I wound up getting a job that was paying me the right amount of money that would mean that I would be able to afford this apartment by myself. So I wind up taking my sister's name off the lease and put the apartment onto my name, and any debt that I accumulated at the time would all fall under my name. Keep that in mind. So boom, I wind up getting this job, and I'm working a 9-to-5, and I'm absolutely miserable. Mental health is in hell. I'm starting to romanticize suicide all over again. Like, I was depressed, okay? But the second I get the job, my sister starts asking me to pay her back for the 2 months of rent that she covered for me. So I'm like, okay, yes, I gotta pay you back. I know that. But at this point, I have so much debt that had transferred under my name at this point, and I'm still trying to keep up with the current rent that I owe. My rent at the time was $1,500, and I was making $1,600 from my job. So she wants me to pay her back $3,000, and I feel horrible because I don't have the means. And at this point, so many bills are piling up. My phone bill, my Wi-Fi bill, so many bills are piling up that honestly, I'm not making enough to cover even my rent at this point, let alone food. Like, no. And as a recent green card holder, I didn't have food stamps. Like, the government wouldn't give me food stamps. So I wasn't eating. I am working this job that is honestly killing me, and I still can't afford anything in my life. So I told my sister at the time, hey, if you want me to start paying you back, I gotta do it in small increments. So I would send you $100, $200 here and there when I have it, when I, accumulate it. I remember I sent her the first payment, which I think was like $200. And basically she was like, what am I gonna do with this? You owe me like 3 bands, like a whole thing. Long story short, she just stopped talking to me. She basically said that, I used her and abused her. I'm never going to learn my lesson, and something about me having a golden spoon in my mouth because the universe just won't let me learn my lesson. I was supposed to be homeless, but somehow I hustled and I managed to keep my apartment, and she's asked out of $3,000 in every other time that she decided to help me. Keep in mind, I skipped a lot of stuff that happened in between. The reason why I winded up even putting the apartment under my name was because I figured at that point I did not want to go live with my sister again. The whole time I was under the impression I couldn't find a job and that I was actually going to lose the apartment. My sister was under the same impression. And after the lease was up, I was gonna go live with my sister in Philly. And she did not fail to tell me how much she hated that idea. And she hated that idea. What did she call me? Like a leash? A leech? Like, she was like, you know, you're just gonna leech off of me like you've been doing. And basically, she did her biggest one during that time at putting me down and tell me how much I'm a failure and how much I failed myself and everything. And how I proved everybody who talked negatively about me right because, you know, this is what I did. And I deserve everything that's coming to me. I was already so down. Like, I knew it. Like, I knew she was right. Like, I knew I failed. But to have somebody else tell you that you failed and that they told you were gonna fail and that you deserve to fail, it hurts. It sucks. So no, I didn't want to come live with my sister. She didn't want me living with her. So I went behind her back and I tried to see what other options exist for me. I told the landlord it was my sister's name on the lease, but I'm actually the one living here, and please put the lease under my name. Please give me a chance. I failed at business. I was very vulnerable with my landlord, and shout out to you, Sam. I called my landlord. I was like, bro, I fucked up. I really genuinely believed in my business and I put a lot of time, effort, and thought into my business, and it didn't go off. I actually failed my first year doing business. And because of that, I'm behind on rent and I'm messed up and I'm so sorry, but I need you to put that under my name. And Sam, being a businessman himself, was like, honestly, no one succeeds the first year of business. I wouldn't expect you to. But if you keep going, that's when you'll reach success. And Sam said, tell you what, I will offer you a new lease and I will put everything under your name. But if you get a job and you show me that you have a job, I'll feel a lot more assured about doing that. So when I ended up getting the job, Sam was like, okay, cool, bet. You're leased now. But my sister felt that I went behind her back when I did that. Long story short, she stopped speaking to me after I had the job in the apartment and everything. And at this point, I'm depressed because I'm working this job and I hate it. And I'm literally drowning in bills. I had every intention, you guys. Look at me. I had every intention on paying my sister back. I never, ever wanted to use her. I was going through a really hard time financially and even mentally. Cool. So fast forward, like the following year, I'm still trying to get my life together and I wind up in trouble again with rent. Rent in New York City is really expensive, y'all. I'm gonna do a separate video on that and talk about my testimony and all of that. Cool. I don't hear from my sister. She winds up giving me a Christmas present later that year and then ghosted me all over again. I'm thinking this is just her boundaries and that I need to pay her back before I can have my relationship back with her. So later that year, I started being in contact with some family members. I was always out of touch with family, so I started speaking to family from Haiti and family that were just moving to the States. And each time that I spoke to one of them, each of them had this one thing in common, that my sister and my father has created this united front and that they've been running around Tong just spewing my name. Not even just that, but telling people basically not to fuck with me in the family. Apparently, I'm a thief, I'm a whore, I'm a user, I'm an abuser, I'm a liar. I am everything, according to my sister, but a child of God. And one thing about me, I love my sister. I always love my sister and I always will love my sister. Anytime somebody wanted to say anything remotely negative about my sister, and it's been quite a few opportunities, I will stand there and I will defend my fucking sister. You will not talk shit about her. Like, you don't know her life. You don't know what she went through. You don't know anything. I do not have any tolerance to sit there and take any bullshit when it comes to her. I don't. But she has all the tolerance in the world to go spew my name and tell everybody my business and tell everybody that I'm the worst fucking demon spawn that this family could have fucking created. If there's anything I'm grateful for in life, because I was genuinely depressed for 2 years because I lost my friendship with my best friend. My sister was my best friend. And it's okay because I understood where I fucked up. And I remember that I prayed God at some point every single day for the opportunity that I'll be able to pay my sister back one day. That's on my soul. And 2 years later, I never gave up content creation. I came across abducted humans who just sit there and listen to me talk. Because of you guys' support, not only on TikTok, but also on YouTube. And my unwavering faith in the universe and God, I am in a much better position financially. And I have to thank you guys for that, for real. I'm not saying I'm rich, I'm not rich. But I was able to pay my sister back last week in full. And that makes me feel so good because I swear that's what I wanted to do this whole time. Thanks to you guys. it became very possible. So now I have this weight off my shoulders of being a user and abuser. The journey here, I lost a lot of people that were really important to me, but I wouldn't do anything differently. And the best thing that I can do now is right my wrongs. Thank you guys, my abducted humans, for giving me the space, the opportunity, I'm not gonna cry, validation, the strength to keep going, and the motivation. And this parasocial relationship means a lot more to me than you guys think, because I went through actual hell, literal hell, to get here. You know it wouldn't be my TikTok page if I ain't cry on here at least once a month. From your favorite Haitian homegirl.